What do you do with all those leftover bits of soap which are just too small to use in the shower? I'm going to melt my soap down and rebatch it to make some brand new soaps. To melt your soap, you need to get it into quite fine pieces to begin with, so I started doing this by using a cheese grater. It gave quite nice fine pieces of soap, but took ages and ages to do. Next, I tried using a potato peeler and peeling off shavings of soap, which is much quicker, but I thought there must be a faster way of doing it. And there was. I used a long, sharp knife, and with my best chef chopping action, I sliced through the soap vertically, and then when I got through the soap, I then twisted it all through 90 degrees and cut through the soap horizontally as well. And then I went through all the shavings and did the rocking motion, the sort of action you see chefs doing when they slice up herbs. When I finished cutting up all my pieces of soap, I then put them into one big pile and went through one last time, just trying to get them into a uniform size so they would melt down at the same rate. I then placed the soap in a heat-proof bowl with about a tablespoon full of water. I did add more water during the melting process, and then carefully tipped my shavings of soap into my bowl. While I was chopping the last of my soap, I did put on a pan of water to boil and then lowered it down to simmering temperature and added my bowl of soap over the top and just waited until it melted. This did take quite a long time, probably at least 20 minutes, and I ended up adding in a little bit more water just to try and loosen the mixture a little bit. As your soap melts, it looks a little bit like a cross between cottage cheese and a mashed potato. I decided mine was a bit too thick, and I thought it might aid the melting process if I added some more water. In my mind, I'd imagined that when the soap melted, it would turn out to be quite liquid, but this wasn't the case. It stayed quite thick throughout, so when I was happy with the consistency and texture, I took it off the heat and placed it into some cupcake moulds. As I wanted the pattern in the mould to show up, I started off by just putting small amounts of the soap in and packing them down with my teaspoon and then layering up. I had enough of my soap scraps to make 3 of the daisy-shaped soaps. I was slightly disappointed at this stage that the soap didn't lie with a nice flat finish, but I got a trick for trying to rectify that, so do watch on to the end of the video. I then left my soap to cool, which probably took about 20 minutes to half an hour, and when I was happy that it had set, I then turned them out of the silicone moulds and ended up with these 3 pretty daisy-shaped soaps that are much more usable in size. They haven't got a perfect smooth finish like a professionally made piece of soap, but for me, I just was pleased that I was able to use my scraps and get some use out of them, and these are going to be used in my utility room when we come in from the garden. To give a smooth finish to the bottom of my soaps and just to get rid of the rough edges, I'm lining a frying pan with some tin foil, and I've got it over a low heat. And as the heat warms up the tin foil, I can rub my piece of soap on the bottom and it just melts off the rough edges and makes the soap slightly smoother underneath. And here are my finished soaps. They are slightly pock-marked, but at least I will be able to reuse every last scrap before I have to throw them away. That's all for me for now, and I shall see you in the next video.